everybody. Welcome back.
Hello.
Hello, friends.
First of all, do you guys remember Nickelback?
And if we all know you remember Nickelback, and if your first thought is like mine, which is probably 99% of people like, ugh, yeah, you probably forgot about that song. What's it called? How You Remind Me?
How You Remind Me.
Oh my God, Alyssa and I were just reminiscing, and that shit hit.
That song slaps, and we had to start off this episode. No, we didn't. We did have to.
No, we did. We had to bring people into that world.
Proper respect. Put put respect on that song.
Because the rest of Nickelback is debatable, but that song, isolated in and of itself, really went. Never made it as a wise man.
I
couldn't cut it. You're right. Poor man stealing.
Poor man stealing.
Yeah.
I couldn't cut it as a blind man or wise man. I think blind man. Couldn't cut it as a blind man. I'm sick of sight without a sense of feeling. And this is how you remind me.
So good. Oh my God, yeah. And it must have been so bad. Okay, anyway.
Because living with me must have damn near killed you. Damn near killed you.
And this is where we lose all of our listeners.
Okay, yeah, come back to us, please.
Come back, guys.
We have a fun one today. We're going to do, I don't know if you remember, I think our last one was like a year ago.
It's a long time ago, yeah. What would Molly and Alyssa do?
Yeah. And we asked people on our Instagram this week to send us some little dilemmas, and we had fun reading those.
Yeah, so you guys sent some good ones. We got some heavy hitters.
Yeah, we're a little depressed with these, but that's fine.
It's okay. It's okay.
A lot of typos, but we're here. We're gonna decipher.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna jump right in. I'll read it. We give our response.
Yeah. You go first. You read the first one.
Okay, so advice on how artists can express themselves in a limiting state of the world, such as now. Obviously,
yeah, this is interesting.
I thought of like a lot of art form. I mean, I thought of music, obviously, and live shows haven't been a thing for a really long time. So there is a lot of the creative aspect that is limiting.
Yep.
However, it obviously opens up a whole another realm, but I think that's what this question is. Yeah, like how can we express ourselves when so many of our forms of expression are paused?
Fuck. So I feel like this is a really interesting question specifically for artists that are out of work in different ways. And I guess I can speak for myself in that, like, I don't have a current day job right now. And for me, self-expression has been coming up in so many different forms because I am a creative first and foremost, and I've always been. And like when I'm the most unhappiest when I don't know how, or I'm stifled. And that was a lot of pre-pandemic, right? That was just a lot of like, I mean, I got it out through acting. I got it out through auditioning, and I still am.
Right, but there was also like an identity crisis where you were having to be at the restaurant and also view yourself as a real artist.
Do you relate to that too? Because that was you as well. Like,
oh yeah, when I was at the restaurant,
yeah.
Oh yeah, I felt like torn in half. Like I felt like I had my fake life and my fake self that I had to go and like tune into for a shift, and then come back to. But the thing is, and then come back to quote unquote real life where I am me as an artist and my music. However, the longer you're in a job like that, the more your art starts to feel like your fake life, like you're posing, and the restaurant starts to feel like your real life, even though you're miserable. That was when I was like, I mean, I want to say when I said I had to get out, but actually I got fired and I was forced out. But that was really a blessing in disguise. Not even in disguise. It was a straight blessing.
Yeah,
it was fully manifested. But yeah, like I know what you're saying, where it's just like you have to, I don't know. It's when everything else is removed, I think it is a blessing, but it's also a huge adjustment because then you're forced to face things and just like, yeah, what do I get my fulfillment from? because we're not getting all the instant validation of like going out and performing or
Right.
even you like going out and auditioning. You were still auditioning. I know they were doing it virtually and you've been actually doing a lot of auditions, but it's not the same situation. You're not around a bunch of people.
Yeah. The in-person auditions are few and far between, but they're starting to happen more and more, which is like,
Mhm.
I guess, fun to get out there. Like, oh, I'm seeing
Yeah.
people. Like,
Wear an outfit.
we're shut-ins in this house, like for the most part.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
Besides work, but like, yeah, it's interesting the way she phrased this. And we're not going to name names for any of these, but the limiting state of the world, because I jumped right to how it was limiting, because she says now, but like it was limiting for, at least for me, and maybe a lot of other people that had these like shitty day jobs to get them to pay their bills while also being creatives on top of that, and trying
Like
to
that was,
decipher between those worlds, like you said.
and that was like what you're saying, that was more limiting than
Yeah.
you're right. You're right. And even though certain things are taken away, like for me, like live performance, but at the same time, there are always ways to I think humans by nature, all humans, I think we're taught to think that creatives are artists. And if you're a lawyer or you're an accountant, you're not creative. No, human beings are creative beings. And so
Yes.
we're taught to categorize and taught to think we structure our society a certain way. But at the end of the day, that's why we've survived this long, is we're creative. And so when things are taken away and certain norms are stripped away, we possess all we need to creatively innovate and
Mhm.
create a new way of it. And that's kind of, I don't know if we're really answering her, but like how to express. For me, one of the things that I found really, because I was planning on releasing my album last year, and obviously my previous plan for releasing it entailed live performances, live shows, listening parties, going around and doing like some press, like live press interviews or radio thing, and all of that was gone. And then it turned into, what it made me do is reflect on, kind of go back to like when I was a kid, when I was little, and I always knew I wanted to do this with my life. Well, what really touched me? And it was like the actual CD, having a tangible CD, and the fold out that had all the lyrics and the photos printed in it. And it was so like, I mean, I wore those pages to death, memorizing the lyrics. I had every photo memorized because I couldn't go onto their social media and see these photos. We didn't have that. You couldn't even see these photos if you didn't they weren't in magazines. The album fold out photos were just for people that bought the album. So I was going back to like real analog ways of like, and retro things that what I loved about artists that I admired and music, and what the whole process was for me. And then it forced me to get creative and be like, okay, well, what's today's version of that? Because yeah, I could produce a CD and have people buy a CD, but that's not it. Like, what's the modern day version of that experience? And forced me to get creative. I'm not going to give it away because I figured it out, and I'm going to do that this year. But
We'll let you guys know about it.
Yeah,
Too.
I'll be shamelessly self-promoting this project. But I think my answer to that question is like, kind of strip everything back and try to get in touch with what, if you're talking about artists, like what initially moved you about this art form. And it's easy to look at it and be like, well, that's irrelevant now. It's outdated. It's nostalgic. And then recreate that in today's world. I think that's a way that we can all be creative and active in today's world.
Fuck yeah, I love that answer so much.
Thank you.
The only thing I can add to that is like, I've been doing so many different things. Like I've like, I don't know if you can see over there. I have like a painting. Right there.
Did you do that?
Oh! It's a fucking paint by numbers. Don't
oh my God.
don't think that I'm
It looks so
actually
good.
Picasso, because I'm recreating a Picasso. Because like I was embroidering, remember? Like,
yeah.
I mean, like cooking isn't an art form, but fuck it, I'm making it one. Like
Yes, it is. Are you kidding me? Okay, I'm sorry. That is not a disputable. That's like, no one would argue that cooking.
True. I don't want to like. There's fucking culinary masterpiece.
It's very much an art form, and also
Chef,
you guys should follow Alyssa's Instagram, her personal one, because your meals that you're posting, I'm blown away. I'm not just saying. I'm really not saying that just for any other reason other than I look at them and I'm like, holy. they're like creative. You're not just doing like, here's my spaghetti. It's like, this is like scallops with it's just like really intricate. It's beautiful.
I try. I'm trying to like, and it's not, I want to like not say reinvent, but like I'm trying a lot of mediums. And when it comes to thinking about the limiting world right now, and for me, what's limiting for me is, it is different, right? Because I'm auditioning the same, but I think what's limiting for me is that I'm not, maybe it's more, for me, it's more mental what's limiting instead of the physical. But a lot of people out there could be like, well, I need to pay my bills, Alyssa. Like, you know, I'm fortunate to have a partner where we can like share finances and stuff like that. So I'm not as in dire need to find a day job right now. So for me, if you can relate to that, and it's more limiting as far as like, no, I can't do that. You have to get over it, because like I started painting that, right? And then I started talking to my friends, and now we're writing like some sort of audio drama, like with a script and stuff.
No way.
Yeah, I didn't tell you about this because it's still like the beginning stages of it, and this could just be, we don't have, it might not come to anything. We're being very kind of casual with it and
organic.
Yeah, but like I haven't been wanting to write since I was 14. I wanted to be a writer. That was the first thing I wanted to be. And I've always just been super critical. But because I started writing and I'm doing like all of a sudden it's spiraling into different mediums in which I'm creating more and
feeds itself.
Yes, it feeds itself. So if you're stuck at even starting to find your creative voice, start it with a paint by numbers. Start with embroidery, something silly, but
that's such good advice. And it's really true, because especially if you already know your main thing and your passion, like when I'm like, no, I know music is my thing, but I'm just like, I'm stuck right now. And then I feel like I have to keep forcing myself to just in that arena, like just sing, just push through it, just write, just push through it. But if I do something like go and shoot photos, go do some of my photography, like get creative, but in a totally different realm, it does. You're right. It opens up the portal of creativity. And then in my main art form, I'm open again.
Guys, I don't know if you remember this, Molly, and then we can move on from this. When me and Molly had our first meeting about this podcast, like we went to a coffee shop, like we were there for hours, like until the nighttime. We were just fucking flowing, and it was, oh my God, it was like such a needed, like we were just like fucking bouncing. We were so excited.
Fun. Yeah.
And then I went home. I was feeling so fed. And I remember I dreamt that I wrote a song, and then I woke up and like started writing this song with Ryan. We never finished it. I wanted to write it with Ryan. It's silly, and I still have it. I remember like I have some of the lyrics in my head, but like I'm not a fucking song. I'm not. But it was just, it fed itself, right? Like that brain was working. So I just, and in my dreams, my subconscious, I was just like creative outlet here, creative outlet there.
It comes out however, and then you do, in that jumble of all these creative little things, you do find the gems. Like it's that's so true. It's like the law of what? It's some law.
Yeah. Don't let the limiting world limit this.
Exactly. It actually should, ideally it forces you to get more creative, because we're not able to settle into like, oh, this is how you do an album release. Okay, follow these steps. It's still creative, but it's all, no, like we got to reinvent everything. So remember when you were a little kid and you just like didn't have any things in your head of like, oh, you have to do it this way. You're literally just like, what if I did this? Nothing stops you.
Adapt. React. Adapt. It's from The Office. I'm trying to go to The Office. Anyway, let's go to the next one.
You want to read what's our next one?
Yeah. So, oh God, this is an interesting one. How do you sustain a relationship with a close family member who is a Trump supporter?
Oh. Uh-oh. Well, I will say, thank God, my parents and brother, my immediate family, and most of my other family are not. However, I have a number of really close friends who have immediate family members who are, and who I've had intimate conversations with about like how they're dealing with it, what it's like when like a parent is, or a sibling. So from personal experience, it's not like, oh, here's the answer. But first thing I would like to say is that I know what I hear from my friends who are dealing with that is that it feels very isolating, and it's like logically they know other people are going through this, but they feel like they feel very alone in having a family member who is a Trump supporter, because obviously most of that person's circle is not a Trump supporter. So then it's very isolating, I've heard, to have like a parent who is, because you're like, okay, but what do I do? Like,
Yeah, it's your
who do I
parent.
go to commiserate? Yeah.
That's hard. I mean, I know I don't have any immediate family either that
Mhm.
does. I do have extended family.
Yeah.
I, if I had and this is the thing, if it was an immediate member, close family member, if it was an immediate or close family member, like imagine if like, yeah, your dad or your mom was like into
Yeah.
the Capitol riots. Like, how do you,
Oh my God.
this is
Well,
a really hard
see,
question.
one thing that I think of is like, first things first, you obviously decide if that's a relationship you want to sustain. But I'm
Mhm.
assuming in this question, like, that is, how do you sustain a relationship with a close family member who, and I think it's one of those things. Obviously, personally, I would feel like responsibility on some level to have the tough conversations, because that's how things progress in the big picture of the world. We have to have these tough conversations. But I also am aware via friends who are in this situation that um, sometimes there's literally a line and you cannot get
Yes.
through. And if you continue to push through, you're going to widen the gap between you and that person. And if it's a parent and you don't want to cut ties with this parent for the rest of your life, as is understandable, you do at some point have to make the decision of like, okay, where's the line? There, do I just, you meet them where they're at and you decide for yourself, um, my expectations are going to be adjusted, because I'm not going to I cannot expect them to eventually come around. And also, I cannot, you decide, but like, okay, I'm not going to engage in these things past a certain point. If I feel my heart rate going up, I'm going to stop it to preserve my sanity and also my relationship with this person. It's like seems to be like a lot of self-restraint and self-control, but I think it's the biggest thing I've heard from people going through this is it's adjusting your expectations,
That's really
and
good advice.
and also reconciling with yourself, giving yourself a break, because I know a lot of us are like, I have to have these conversations. This is how we progress. This is me as an activist and an ally, is not shying away from these conversations. Obviously, if you're at this point, you have tried to have these conversations and you have made it known and you have said all you could say, and it's not going anywhere. So don't beat yourself up and thinking like, well, I'm being weak and I'm like not standing up for what I believe in if I just let this go. If you want to continue a relationship with a parent, for example, I feel like, yeah, you have to adjust your expectations and just try to isolate it and see it as that. Not that, I don't know if that's possible, but
And that's really good advice. I don't even know what to add to that. That's really good. Yeah, just set your boundaries.
yeah.
Maybe use different moments that are happening like right now, like the shootings in Atlanta. Maybe use these moments as teachable moments for them, where you're not
Yeah.
coming across as patronizing, but being like, do you see the consequence of words? You know, when
Right.
you're constantly calling COVID the Wuhan virus, the Chinese virus, like you know, you're actively portraying a stereotype that is absolutely so dangerous, harmful, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, what is it? It's been like I think it's been 4,000 attacks and attacks in different forms, whether it's like actual straight up murder or just assault on the Asian community since last March. Over 4,000. And it's like, and like before that, it was like like the actual jump, like what that was. It's so crazy, and words fucking matter, and it doesn't
Yeah.
matter their level of support, you know, like they could have been like at the insurrection, or they can just be like, nah, no, I care about my taxes. I'm voting for Trump. Like this is any form of supporting something like Trump, something like the idea of what he is and what he brings, and everything is just dangerous. So I think if you use moments like this as teachable moments, oh, don't call me. And yeah, don't come on, but know your boundaries at the same time. Like Molly said, it's not worth it if your blood pressure is starting to rise as you're talking to them. Like preserve your sanity,
and your energy,
and when you have, yeah.
Oh, sorry. No,
I was gonna say, it's like when you have it, and you feel safe enough to make moments like this teachable for them, do it.
Yeah.
But if not, don't beat yourself up. Like, do it at your own pace.
And I think what you were saying is really important, because if you're like, you might know it's a dead end. I can't bring up Black Lives Matter with my dad specifically, but if you can constantly be on the lookout, at least for like parallels that they might not immediately tie with it, but they can conceptually understand, and then maybe draw a parallel. If you have, like Alyssa said, if you're at a point where you're like, I have a little energy for this, I might have an angle that I'm going to try without expectation. That's the most important part, I feel like, because if you're like, oh, I have a new angle, like this will do it, I'm sure it'll do, you're setting yourself up for letdown. But if you come at it like just like a science experiment, like, I wonder if I bring up like women's rights and relate it to like this person's daughter, or like I'm this person's daughter, and I talk about like what I experienced walking to my car, and they'll have empathy for that, and it will infuriate them because I'm their daughter. And then maybe then I can draw a parallel to what Black people go, like you can always be trying to draw parallels. Meanwhile, like if you can, treat it as a science experiment, and not like have these high expectations for them to have a sudden epiphany.
It might take a long time, but
and it might never happen. And that's why it's like, okay, well, I think this question, like if it might never happen, and it's like coming to that realization and then deciding I do still want this person in my life, but I just don't know how to do it. Godspeed to all of you.
Godspeed. Yeah. So preserve your energy, boundaries, and like Molly said, set your expectations.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Okay. You want to read the next one?
Okay. So this one, my best friend just got engaged to a man that has been really toxic throughout their relationship, including cheating on her. And I don't know how I can be in the wedding and truly support her.
Tea.
Oof.
Tea.
Yeah. I have not like in a having been in, or like having to turn down being in someone's wedding, but I don't know if you guys listened to our episode, like again, like a year ago or more, Mending Fences episode, where I had one of my very best friends on, and we just talked about a time in our friendship where we didn't speak for like a year. And it wasn't this like, fuck you, I'm not talking to you. It was literally, she was dating someone it wasn't just like, oh, she's with someone that I don't like. It was like, he had dragged me into it. I was involved. He was dragging me through the mud.
Oh, I've been there.
I didn't like how he was treating her. And yet I respected her and didn't want to be that person in her life that is constantly like, I made my opinion clear and like my position clear. And then I was like, okay, I can't be this person in your life that is constantly bashing. If you're making this choice to be with this person, and I do love you, I don't want to be that person in your life that's every time you see me, I'm bashing your man. I do, how I feel. And so it was literally a thing of like, to preserve our relationship.
It's like a catch-22.
Yeah. And the way I phrased it to her was like, I love you and I want you in my life forever. And right now, I know that I would be that friend who's like constantly bashing your relationship, and I don't want to be that to you either. So I'm going to have to step back in order to preserve our friendship. And we went like a year without speaking, and she was with him. And then, they broke up, and then we came back together. But that's a good episode to listen to if you guys want to go back. But it's kind of, so I wasn't the position of like having to say, I don't know if I want to be in your wedding. And, if he's like abusive to her, there's different layers to all of this. But,
right.
I do think there's a way somehow to emphasize that you love them and you want to be there for them, and also say, I don't support this decision, but I'm not trying to cut you out of my life. It's tricky.
You know what just came to my mind?
Huh.
That scene in Sex and the City when Miranda and Carrie are shopping and Carrie's talking about like being friends with Big again. And Miranda's just like, all right, enough. If you get back with him, I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want the late night calls. I don't want the crying. I don't want to hear anything of this relationship. And Carrie's like, how dare you? Da, 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 da. And it's such an interesting perspective because like I can feel Carrie, but I also feel Miranda in that moment of just like, you're my friend. Like, what do you mean? I would be there for you. But where Miranda's coming from, and if there's anything like toxic like Big was, like, fuck this.
She was there for her 4 years, for years and years throughout that toxicity.
Exactly. So it's like, you know, putting your foot down and being the bitch that you don't want to be, but like sometimes friends need you to be that bitch. But it's not even a bitch. Right.
You need a friend that's going to be real.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, like if that were you and me, and I had to say that to you.
Yeah.
And then you did get back with him, and then if there were a real you literally, and then you called me like a month later and there was an emergency, of course I'd be there for you. It's like part of it is just the optics of having to say to that friend, like, basically what that says is like, I'm not down with it. I don't really have it in me to support you through all that again. And that's being real. And at the end of the day, if it's someone you love and they really need you, of course you will. Yeah. But having to say that is also important. Like being real with your friend is also important.
Yeah. And I've had this happen to me in the past too. And I was just like, you know, I was upset, but like, I would never abandon this friend, even though I'm just like, this is so stupid. Like at the end of the day, you can't abandon them. Even threatening, I get it in basically to scare them straight of how serious this situation is. And you can say until you're blue in the face how much you love him, but like if you're more unhappy than happy in this relationship, and all you're doing is thinking about what he's thinking. No, he's just having a bad day this day, or he's out of a job. That's why he's not confident right now. No, he just needs to go to therapy. You know, no, like it's just like this. If you keep making excuses, if just your relationship is just making excuses for the other person, and you're not thinking about how this is affecting you at all, only in like short term, but not even in long term. Yeah, you know, that's your answer. Like.
And like with perspective, that friend, ideally, you again, it's like like you have to understand, and you, I'm sure do. It's like their free will. They could be pissed, be insulted, have their wedding, get married, and stay with that person. They might call off the wedding. They might get married and have 5 years with that person, and then they get divorced. But at the end of the day, like with my friend that we talked to on the episode, you know, she let their relationship be, what I didn't make her break up with him. Like she let their relationship ride out, came to her own decisions, own conclusions, in her own mind and heart. And then it ended. But you just remind yourself, like, stay true to if it's out of love for your friend, which like, I think it is with this person. And for me, it's like, it's not any personal vendetta. I really love you and I want you to be happy. So I don't want to like stomp all over your party, but I need to be real with you. And then, you know, with perspective and distance, it is likely at some point that they will be like, I understand that what you did wasn't about you trying to hurt me. Because if it's a really real best friend, and you have enough time in between, regardless of what they decide to do, any logical person would at some point be like, okay, they were just being honest and it was hard, but yeah.
Yeah, as long as there's enough love and trust there, and you've proven yourself to be the friend, you know, a good friend, and vice versa.
Right.
Patience, but be direct.
Yeah.
To be honest. Don't bite your tongue.
Right.
Yeah.
What's our next one, Alyssa? I know.
This one's
really hard.
How are you going to spend your stimulus, Molly?
Oh, strippers. What?
Yes.
Honestly, it's not all in one place, but I'm like, figuring out all my funds for my album release, my singles release, my merch store that's coming. I'm getting all my stuff in line for my music. So a lot of it's going there. Yeah, I don't have a really cool answer. Do you?
Well, sort of. First of all, and I saw this before, we're both wearing tie-dye today.
Which this is the only tie-dye thing I own.
This is the only tie-dye thing I own, Molly.
It's not my normal vibe. It actually is kind of like it's not me at all, but this is me. Yours looks like you too.
Right.
Yeah. Everyone get on our YouTube.
This looks like a Libra and Aquarius's version of our tie-dye and how we do our tie-dye. That's
exactly.
So funny. Sorry, guys. This is not planned.
Wow. That's funny. We don't own any other. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. This is why you listen to us, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway.
This is why they pay us the big money. Nobody does.
Okay, wait. This is going to say. So with my stimulus, I was just telling Molly about this earlier, and we're talking about things. And me and Ryan this week started in investing and like putting our money that's just been fucking hanging out in different savings accounts and not doing anything. Yeah. And we're just like, we got to invest. Like, this is so stupid. And then we were starting looking into crypto, obviously. And guys, NFTs are the fucking future. Please look it up if you don't know what this is. And me and Molly were just talking about possibly doing something with our own NFT. It's crypto trading cards, basically. It's digital art.
Digitized art, yeah.
And it's fucking wild.
It is the thing. And we plan on having an episode on NFTs with a person who really knows what they're talking about.
Yes.
TBA. Both.
Yeah, stay tuned for that because we need to learn more about it, but we're so interested in doing it. And it's like people are making so much money from it. So possibly, I would just say investments. Yeah, that's arguably the most worthwhile thing to do with any money you're given, as long as you're able to put food on the table. Yeah, and it's interesting. Ryan has been super fucking into the crypto side. I mean, investing in general, but like with crypto, and a lot of our generation, like millennials, and probably Gen Z too, the older Gen Zs, are really getting into crypto and NFTs and all this stuff that's just so lucrative because we're realizing that this structure, capitalism and everything, does not work for us. We do not want to be working these 9 to 5s until we're 65. Like, right. NFTs, crypto, this is all pathways to retiring and living the life you want at a young age. Yeah, when you still have your health and your vitality, and you can, not that you don't at 65, sorry. Yeah, and like, Mom and Dad, just kidding. Yeah. But the jobs that like Ryan does, like Ryan is crew, he does like on set dressing and like, it's not too much manual labor, but there's a lot of guys that he works with that does a lot of manual labor on sets and in the union and stuff. And like when you're 65 and with a lot of jobs, like it's not just like, oh, your sanity and your mental, it's physically like what you end up being. We're when just you taught to work our asses off during our prime in terms of like physical health and well-being in general. During those years, you work like crazy. Don't stop and smell the flowers. And then when you hit 65, hopefully, not even everybody, you can enjoy your life. And it's like, but what about my 30s and 40s and 50s? Literally 3 decades midlife when our human bodies are at their peak. Like, we're just supposed to wait till later when we hopefully don't have any health issues yet. Hopefully don't have any life situations that prevent us from going and following our dream. Like, that makes no logical sense. Nope. So this, I encourage everyone, if they're like, kind of intrigued by the idea of crypto and NFTs, look into it. It really could be a good investment with your stimulus to try and see how you can profit. Get your hands in it.
Yes.
because we're going to be doing that. And because I don't want to be working like that.
Yeah, and then maybe you guys can all support us and buy our NFT.
Am I the asshole for insulting a fat girl after she told me to eat a burger? This is not something that someone sent to us. This is on that Reddit thread. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for insulting a fat girl after she told me to eat a burger? Take that in.
Okay.
We're both 17, for context, 2 women. Basically, some of my friend group at school, who I'll call Jenny, is pretty overweight and clearly insecure about it, whereas the rest of the group are all slim. I have never mentioned weight, calories, health, etc. in front of her because I know she's insecure. She has a habit of implying that we're all too skinny in what feels like a disparaging way, but we tend to ignore her. But one time at lunchtime, I wasn't hungry, so I didn't eat anything, and I swear she was giving me dirty looks the whole time. Then said, "You should really start eating more." To me. To clarify, it was obvious she was saying it to be insulting, not because she cared about my health or anything. I normally eat loads. So anyway, I was annoyed at this comment and said, "What?" I said, "What?" and start to look like you? No thanks.
Ooh.
Then she walked out and was very upset. Objectively, I accept that what I said was very mean, and my friends think I was in the wrong. One of them said that it would have been fine if I just told Jenny to eat a salad or something. What? And that was a direct inversion of what she said. But since I expressly insulted the way Jenny looks, I'm in the wrong. I see what they mean, especially I know she's insecure. However, I was just sick of her taking the insecurities out on me and my friends. It's not like I can't be insecure either. I've always felt too flat. So it's not really fun when she implies that I'm too skinny. Just want to know if I was justified in what I said to her, or am I the asshole?
I think, yeah, it was an asshole thing to say. Like, really hurtful. Definitely not the way to go about it. So I think that was an asshole move. However, her feelings about and frustration about how her friend would treat them and would imply and say things, I do understand. And I know, Alyssa, you and I have talked about this. Like, we're both, and that's the thing. It's society. It's a privilege to be thin because it's considered the beauty standard, and I understand that and I accept that. And also my reality is that, like, growing up in high school, especially in high school, when like everybody goes through puberty and girls start to get boobs, and I did not. And it was like just teased for, yeah, where are you at? Hey guys. But like being teased for lack of curves when you're trying to find yourself, your femininity, and you're like going through puberty and you're trying to feel like a woman, and you don't have the visual indicators that you're a woman, and you're being teased for it at school. And like, I had a girl at school in high school who was awful to me. And she had big boobs. She had a big butt, which I always admired. I was like, man, she has those things. I don't, but she was definitely curvier, obviously. And she was really insecure about her weight, and she wanted like a flatter stomach and skinny legs. And it's like, we both had things that the other one wanted. Yeah. But I was always trying to, anyway, she started, just one day I came into school and she started making these gagging noises when I would walk by. And I was like, and it went on for like weeks and weeks, and everybody was like, what? I remember people being like, Maddie, why don't you like Molly? Why don't you? And I thought the whole time, all through high school, I thought she was just making those sounds like, oh, you make me sick. Like I'm going to throw up and throw up. I came home for Christmas from college one time, and my other friend, we were talking about it. This was like years later. And my friend was like, yeah, remember when Maddie was telling everybody that you were bulimic? And I was like, what? What? That never got back to me. I thought she was just making puking sounds every time I walked by because she was being immature and like, ew, you make me sick. Meanwhile, apparently is telling everybody I'm bulimic. And so, yeah, that's like there's a privilege in being thin. That's not denied. But like, it's you get teased for no matter what. You don't have boobs and a butt, you get teased. Yep. You're too thin, you look like a boy. And then the girls who are curvier, oh, you're fat, but also you're supposed to have boobs. Like, you just can't win. And if she's really making you feel like that girl, if she's making her actually feel over time, like she expressed, like, I'm just sick of her making us feel bad about this. She snapped, and she was an asshole when she snapped. But like conceptually, it's hard both ways. It's not fair to come at someone for their body type.
Yeah, I've had very close friends that have told me, eat something, eat a burger, Why aren't you
Mhm.
eating? Family members. And I'm like, I eat
Yeah.
all the fucking time. And
Also,
it's just
you
like,
do eat.
oh my God, I eat my dick off. But this is the thing. It's just like, why do I have
That's
to
where it
say
went.
that? It's like so weird. I always feel so weird. But then it's like,
Mhm.
I don't like to talk about my insecurities there because I just feel like
Because then it's like,
I-
boo hoo, you're skinny.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's 100% true. I have so much privilege there, and I have a way. I have the standard, right? No one's gonna like. I don't
Right.
know. Like I have this privilege. But just know it's like you're making assumptions. Molly could have been bulimic. I could have been anorexic. You know what I mean? You're making
Right.
assumptions when you say that to somebody and you don't know where they're at and how
And
much
like,
worse you're making it when you say things like that.
and women, like all women, I don't care if you diagnosed as one of the however many eating disorders, disordered eating
Right.
in and of itself happens all the time. Like my sophomore year in college, I remember I gained I don't even know, I wasn't even weighing myself. I just was like, oh, I got chunked out. Like I'm chunky now. And it bothered me. And I remember being like, and again, it's never something that would be diagnosed. I was eating, but I was thinking too much in my head about what I was eating. I was still eating. I wasn't bulimic. I wasn't anorexic. I wasn't even I wasn't cutting calories. I wasn't doing anything crazy, but my mental state was unhealthy because every time I would eat, I'd beat myself up about, oh, I'm so fat. Not that I was acting on it and restricting my food, but even that is like disordered eating. The way we are taught to think about food, especially women, is really messed up.
It's
and
so
so
interesting,
I
yeah.
don't think anyone gets away unscathed, whether
Nope.
you're super thin or you're super curvy or what doesn't matter. Honestly, you brush up against it in some way as a female always.
Always. It's always going to be in your mind. Like even we're aging. We're feeling, our bodies are changing a little bit. Quarantine has been real interesting. So like the extra jiggle up in my thighs, I'm just like, fuck. But it's also like, I don't know, like comments like that have always been so fucking weird. Like, it's like what you said, it's such an insecurity, not only for body types, but it's also just a sign of being less feminine. And I never I just wanted to be more feminine and appear more feminine. If I didn't have these like huge breasts and not
Right.
as like bony shit going on here, then I'm not the woman. I'm not a full woman.
Right. There's so much.
There's so much that goes into it. And
it's just
like
we
you
get so
said,
many mixed messages.
exactly. And there's diets that are so dangerous that are really just disordered eating disguised as a diet.
Yeah.
So just like Molly said, no one comes out unscathed.
Yeah. And anytime you're just there's so many layers to it where it's like, if you're just, oh, you can't bring yourself to eat a real meal because then you're sitting down and eating a meal, and mentally that's too much food, but you'll snack all throughout the day and mentally for you, that's okay. It's like all of these things are disordered eating. It doesn't matter that maybe you're eating quote unquote healthy food. If you're eating 2 carrot sticks a day
or juicing,
that's disordered eating.
Yeah.
And if you're eating like 1 million brownies a day, that's disordered eating. And if you're not eating one day and then you eat a bunch there's a million versions of it. And like I said, women all brush up against it to various degrees, but
I bet for men too. Like,
I'm sure.
100%. When you go on I don't have, but when my friends they go on Tinder and it's all pictures of men in a gym and they're jacked, and it's just the Tinder aspect, just guys that are obsessed with going to the gym. There is a disorder there that's not talked about because they're men.
Yeah.
We love to talk it's very
orthorexia. I think that's the term.
I've heard of that.
For when you're it's a condition where you're just obsessively unhealthily obsessed with health and wellness, and you're too focused on your diet and your workout and your health. It's actually a disorder as well.
Yeah.
And like there's everything in balance, you guys.
Yeah, don't think it doesn't affect men too. Skinny
Right.
people, doesn't matter. Everyone's going to feel this. So have grace for everybody and think about what the fuck
Mhm.
you're saying, because it could come out as a joke, but it's like you're exposing a huge insecurity no matter what they
Yeah.
look like.
Yeah. And looking back, like I had told you, you know, when looking back on my situation in high school where I'm like, I don't even know if at that age, if I knew what bulimia was. I probably did, but like obviously didn't register at all in my mind and never got back to me at that time. But it is likely that she was actually struggling with that herself and started putting it on me, spreading that rumor about me, bullying me about it, while she's secretly bulimic herself because she was insecure about her weight. And that's so sad because I look at her and I was like, you're so beautiful. You have all the curves. You're cute. Like, but that's just, we don't see ourselves the same way that others do. And so also have grace when you feel, when maybe someone is coming at you with these unfair comments, and just remember that like, it's likely, it could be a projection, could be something they're struggling with that they're putting off on you. And so have grace with them as well.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's what would Molly and Alyssa do?
Yeah, I think we were talking about this too. We should have an episode talking about disordered eating and all that stuff, because it's really vast. And especially, a lot of people are quarantine weight and like all that stuff. I think it's on people's minds as people are getting vaccinated and entering the world again. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely an important topic.
TBA.
Yeah. TBD. We will come at you with that. Have some dream guests on the way. This year, our episodes will be leveling up, so stay tuned, guys.
Yeah, we have a lot of ideas.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I don't have my thing. Do you have your thing called out?
Oh, I got it. Yeah, let's do. We're gonna shout out Stop AAPI Hate. In response to the alarming escalation in xenophobia and bigotry resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic, the Asian Pacific Planning and Policy Council, Chinese for Affirmative Action, and the Asian American Studies Department of San Francisco State University launched the Stop AAPI Hate Reporting Center on March 19th, 2020. The center tracks and responds to incidents of hate, violence, harassment, discrimination, shunning, and child bullying against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in the United States. Their approach recognizes that in order to effectively address anti-Asian racism, we must work to end all forms of structural racism leveled at Black, Indigenous, and other communities of color. To learn more and donate, please visit stopaapihate.org.
Yes.
Yeah, so everything that's happening in Atlanta and everything, it's fucking horrible. So please, if you can, there's so many organizations I'm seeing on social media that you can follow, but stopaapihate.org is a trusted one. So do that. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, at the SOS Pod. Subscribe to us on YouTube, SOS with Molly and Alyssa, Spotify, Google, SOS with Molly and Alyssa. We would love for you to rate and review, because it really helps us in the algorithm to reach more people.
It does a lot.
Yeah. We love you guys.
I'm Molly Cottrell.
And I'm Alyssa Rosano.
And here's to turning meltdowns
into magic. I never made it as a wife.